believe we are live. Hello, friends. It is so nice to be back with you all. Hello, Vanja. Hello. It is so nice to be back for another IMO Live series. I'm very excited to be here. I just love stepping into these. Yes, I'm super excited to be back. I love being able to come into these spaces and share. Um, it is so important that we are able to tell our stories and share our stories because that's how we heal. Um, I was listening to this book today. Hi, Megan. Thank you for tuning in. I was listening to this book earlier today on grief and grieving. And there was a line that was said in the book that has really been resonating with me all day. And that line essentially was grieving or grief has to be witnessed in order to be healed. And I thought about that and I said, wow, what a statement. Grief has to be witnessed in order to be healed. And a lot of times, how we help the grieving process is through telling the story. Sharing the story is a big way in being able to move through grief, process it, and allow our minds to wrap around what has happened, what we've experienced, and be able to come to terms with it. And so I think that this is really important. This is a very important series, and I'm just so glad that it's happening, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And hi, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm glad to be able to share. So I'm going to be sharing from my poetry collection, which is my story. So These Dry Bones is a collection of poems that tells my story from early teenage angry Esty to the woman that you see today. It's been a journey. It's been a journey, and I'm going to share some of that journey with you all through the poems that I share here. This book is available on Amazon, so if you look at the description, there is a link there. So you are very much able to go ahead and grab it should you feel moved by anything that you hear in this moment. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So let's get into an introductory piece. This piece is called Portrait of a Girl. Open your mind. Come with me on a journey. I want to introduce you to a special little girl. She's a sweet little thing. Got a grown woman shape, but she's only 8. And the big boys like her, grab at her. And the girls talk about her. She doesn't understand why she can't just look like the rest of them. She plays by herself until she finds a friend. She can't protect herself, but she can protect Sandy. She doesn't know how to shield herself, so she trains herself not to feel. Learns to take the blows because her brother taught her that big kids don't cry. Crying is for babies. Crying is for kids who are weak. So she numbs herself to feelings and only seeks to protect. Every year, it's the same old story. She doesn't fit in with the kids, doesn't have the latest fits, All she wants is for them to love her. All she wants is the friendship of another. One that doesn't consist of backstabbing and insults, but this is all she sees. She gets home, and the love she sees is arguing. Take care of the little one, take care of her brothers. No time for dolls because she has to be a pseudo mother. Maybe if she gets involved in activities, then her parents will make time for her. Nope, still too busy arguing. Going to the church and doing the work of ministry, chasing dreams of the industry, and she sits at home wondering, what about me? She looks at old photos where her parents met, sees wedding pictures and thinks, was I an accident? When she looks around, all she sees is war. But this is what love is. This is what fighting is for. Daddy isn't around to save her from the mess. Boys hurt her silently, but she thinks it's them she must protect. So she disappears inside her mind somewhere around age 9, numb to the things she's asked to do. Obedience was beaten into her, so it was nothing. He wants to see her bra. He wants to see her panties. He's interested in her, or so she believes. No one ever talks to me, she thinks. If it will keep him giving her the attention that she wants from mom and dad, she'll do what she has to. This makes her feel wrong. This makes her feel dirty. He comes to rescue her from the neighbor who tried to take her. He makes her feel dirty. She knows this is wrong. Inside, she screams and cries and wants someone, anyone, to come home. But they don't, because everyone is going about their business. Take care of the baby, cook for the boys. She gets straight A's in school, so everyone thinks she's okay. She looks out to a world that can't see her pain because it's masked behind achievements and meaningless trophies. Pain has become her drug. She likes to play with knives. She's got a grown woman body, thick lips, nice tits, childbearing hips, a booty that even made some girls look twice. Her body was nice. The boys want her. She likes the attention. They treat her like crap, but in her mind, this is affection. But she couldn't be weak, not like her mother. So she starts treating men like toys. Everyone played with her. Now it's her turn to play. She's been used up and she's gonna do men and women the same way. She was a sex object for many, so she had no respect for her body. She's giving it away to different men, teasing different women in a twisted attempt to get back at the ones who used her up before. A bittersweet romance between this girl and pain. But she knows she's wrong, so here comes depression and shame. What's left to do now? Drink the problems away. But she masks it in fun and in games. So high, she can touch the sky. She's walking with who she's become on cloud 9. So high, she could fly away. At the end of the day, death seems like a better alternative. But she's too much of a punk to take her own life. So she drives while she's drunk. Yet, always protected. Always makes it home safe. She sits up one night and she waits. When will the nightmare end? She wants to stop playing pretend. No one knows inside she's already dead. Love tries to find her, but comes wrapped in offense. She's trying to see past it, but hasn't mastered it yet. She wants to let love in, but the only love she knows hurts. She'd rather be without love than experience this curse and protect love from herself. Imagine a grown woman as that numb little girl. I've just introduced you to myself. Okay, that is the portrait of a girl. So, as you heard through here, I am someone who has survived many things. You just spoke for all the little girls who have ever felt like this and the woman they grew into. Wow, thank you. Thank you. It's scary how many women are carrying a lot of this pain that they don't speak up about. And in my research, I've been finding out that there's such a connection between unspoken wounds, unhealed wounds, traumas that we try to suppress, and then how that manifests in our bodies, our ailments, because the body holds on to the things that we don't know how to grieve, the things that we don't know how to release. It shows up in our bodies in other ways that we were not prepared for. There's such an epidemic, especially among women of color. There are so many women of color who have experienced some sort of abuse in their childhood. And then you see amongst women of color, there is an epidemic of fibroids and PCOS and all these things, and just amongst women in general. But when you look at the statistics, it's like almost 1 in 5 women. I'm kind of exaggerating the numbers, but it's very similar. Like, there are so many women who have a story of abuse, who have never told their story, who have never shared it, who have never uttered the words. I remember when I did my book signing and I got a message from someone. And they said they had never spoken to anyone about what they had been through. And they felt a release in just being able to hear my story. And that gave me a sense of motivation and a sense of just needing to continue to speak. Thank you. Needing to continue to speak because there are so many women who don't know how to open up and share. Let's get into another poem. I want to share. This piece is called I Gave It All Up, because when I think there's a lot of shame, but also a lot of, if I ignore it, I don't have to deal with it. Yes, that is the lie that has so many people stuck. Because now, if I ignore it, then you end up in another space because you've now created patterns subconsciously that you don't even recognize you're moving in. And it begins to show up in your life in other ways, and you become triggered in other ways that you're not even realizing by not addressing the thing. And it's crazy. All right. So when you've experienced things like this, being in healthy relationships becomes a little difficult. And so I ended up in a relationship that, one, I knew I had no business being in, but because I was triggered by something that my father said, I allowed myself to push through into a relationship that I knew was bad for me from the beginning, but I wasn't healed. And I was attempting to prove a point, so much so that I walked myself into a situation that I knew I shouldn't have been in. And it's crazy how we allow ourselves to do these things because of these suppressed wounds. And mind you, I'm a daddy's girl. I feel like I had a great relationship with my dad. I was closer to my dad than my mom all these years. And yet, because I never fully addressed those issues that were suppressed and hidden, he said those words, and I instantly went into like an out-of-body temper tantrum experience, and I spent 5 years in a relationship that I knew I shouldn't have been in. So this piece I wrote as that relationship came to an end. I gave it all up. The toxicity had me lost in myself. I had no idea loving him was so hazardous. The more I tried to make it work, those demons had more room to work on me, in me. A cancer was spreading. My vision was obstructed. My heart constructed walls I barricaded myself in, never realizing what I was hiding from was already inside. But in a moment of clarity, when I was positive I would no longer survive the negative environment in my mind, I gave it all up and found inner peace, self-worth. I found real love. And that's that poem. Yeah, that was an interesting 5 years. That was an interesting 5-year journey. But it was necessary. It caused me to look in the mirror and see what I did not want to face. There were so many things that I didn't want to face, and this actually helped me begin to come to terms with what I had been running away from my whole life. Thank you. Now, since we went into this combo, I feel like it's only important, or it's important and only right that I share a couple pieces that are not necessarily in the book, but are very much a part of my story. And so, like I said, I was in that relationship that I knew I had no business in, and I stopped talking to my father for a while in the midst of that. And so when it was time for me to finally give it all up and file for divorce, then I had to go ahead and make that call and tell my dad I was getting a divorce. So let's get into that poem real quick, and then we'll jump back into the book. And slight connection to the Little Mermaid here, because I just saw so many similarities between 5:28 p.m. Time is a melting glacier. These minutes merge, gradually multiplying into what feels like hours. The light from my phone piercing my pupils, vision blurry, device weighs a ton. Lifting it to my ear is impossible. 5:35. In my car, replaying many heated conversations leading up to the moment where I went wrong. A Netflix marathon, no chill, nerves on edge, fish out of water, each breath harder than the next. 5:37 p.m. I am an ocean of anxiety. Emotions crash against my frame of mind. Words whirl through memory gates, pulling images of hands that never should have grazed me. An avalanche of anger rolls down my back, heating my hands. Just dial the number 90. 9 minutes I've been sitting here contemplating the last 5 years of my life. All the moments we missed because, like Ariel, I had something to prove. I had to show you I could be part of his world, but that was somewhere I knew I didn't belong. And the toxicity of that relationship was like Ursula. It snatched my voice away. When you would call and ask if I was okay, there were so many things I wanted to say, so many things I wanted to say, so many times I wanted to lay in your chest. Like when I was a little girl. It was my safest place. 5:40. tapping the sides of my phone case, left thumb, right thumb, as if the words would magically materialize from the friction put forth by my appendages. What should I say? Hey, Dad, you were right. I gave up a piece of myself to avoid admitting this. You told me it would be over in a year, and when he tried to leave the first time, my heart would split. If I let it end back then, I would have admitted defeat. But I'm too stubborn for that, so. Even though the vibe was obsolete, he stood in front of me and asked me why I wanted him to stay. That's the day I took the pen and signed my voice away. Like Ariel penned her name on that scroll, I let my selfish desires put my good judgment on hold. So I paid the price in self-worth and self-esteem. Thought I could fast and pray a better situationship into being. And I imagine the Heavenly Father was patiently waiting for me, just like you, to let go of my rebellion and hold fast to the truth. That relationship had sunk long before I filed for divorce. I was warned and I ignored every sign that was given because the evil desires within had me try to rename this act something other than sin. I heard God tell me no before I said I do, but I had to show you that you were wrong this time. And now I felt like a fool. I prolonged the inevitable, trying to avoid making this very call to you. 5:43. Hey, Dad. I'm okay. I just called to say I'm filing for a divorce. I met with a stillness that put my spirit at ease as my father responds. I've been praying for the day I would get this phone call. And I thought about the prodigal son and how his father celebrated him as he came back home. That father's love reached through the speakers and wrapped around me. It put me in a whirlwind of peace. My lungs could function properly. I sat in my car and listened to my father speak. Admitting I was wrong was the most freeing phone call. And that's that piece. Yeah. You know, not dealing with your wounds will cause you to make moves that you have no business making. I spent a lot of time and a lot of energy trying to prove a point because I was angry, because I had all this suppressed rage that I never dealt with, and it was coming out in different ways. And it was coming out in ways that felt acceptable to my religion, that felt acceptable to my mind. But it was so necessary. It's an ugly part of the story, but it's part of my story, and it's necessary because that's how the healing begins. That's how the healing grows. We look at and we face the ugly. No plant can grow without dirt. These are the pieces of dirt that help me to grow. And I hope that it's helping you face yourself and grow. I'm going to share something else that's not in the book. Because because I feel like this is another important part of my story and a part of my grieving. And I want to share it with y'all. So, like I said, I felt like I was closer to my dad than my mother, but then my mother passed away, and I wasn't ready for that. I was not ready for that. And so I want to share this poem. Because I had to come to terms with all of the moments that I felt like I missed with my mother because I was doing so many other things, and I just assumed and took for granted that she would always be there. I assumed, I could just keep living my life and I'll get around to building a better relationship with her later. And now later will never come. May it be well with my soul. May my mind reconcile the time in which I am forced to exist now without my mother. A woman whose love I took for granted because I assumed she would always be here, always be near, just a phone call away. How I wish today I could hear her fuss at me one more time. I cannot apologize for the hours I spent with friends over family because my childhood traumas had me bonded to a makeshift kinship that abandoned me in my time of grief. But even in my rebellious cycle, she never gave up on calling me home. They say home is where the heart is. But when your mind and your heart disconnect to survive, do you ever really find rest? When your mind and your heart disconnect to survive, your soul gets trapped in the loop, running from a past you don't realize ain't even chasing you. But my mind had me programmed to view everything as a series of unfortunate events. Finding the negative was easy, like weeds that thought wrapped themselves around every accomplishment or deed and entangled themselves until I thought they were me. May it be well with my soul. May my body begin reflecting the current state of consciousness I choose to reside. May she set aside the chaos of early life, release what was passed down through grandma's womb, find rest internally. May this body no longer be blamed for growing at rates outside of my control. Never should a 10-year-old be told she got DSL. This body that forced me to prove my age, while these men never cared that this forbidden fruit that they lusted after was being carried by a preteen vessel. May it be well with my soul. May every touch that stained my self-esteem, that made me shame for the curves I carried, that locked themselves in my hips, keeping me in a constant state of stress, shake loose and pass through. May it be well with my soul. That my heart and mind realign with your spirit, Lord. That even when my father forsakes me, you have placed me in the arms of a man whose heart is for you, whose heart is true, who leads me constantly to places of prayer. Even when the enemy tries to alter my destiny at the altars of false deities, your will for me is prosperity. May it be well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. It is well. I choose to exist in a state of well. Even with all the crazy mistakes that I've made, where you choose to reside in your mind is your choice. And I want you to choose peace. I want you to choose joy. I want you to choose love every time, because these are not just feelings. Joy is a choice. Happiness is fleeting, but joy, that's a choice that you are in control of. Choose joy. And let's see, I think I have time for maybe like one more piece from my book. Well, these are short, so we'll do two. We'll do two, and then we'll close out. Again, my book is available on Amazon, so if you would like to support me, feel free to click the link in the description and grab hold of the book. There's a poetic photo series that is in here as well, with makeup done by me. So the book, it is a visual metaphor for Ezekiel 37, which is a passage in the Bible called the Valley of the Dry Bones. And that passage in itself is a story of hope. It is a story of redemption. It is a story of speaking life to dead things. And I felt like I was someone who was pretty much just going through the motions. I was not living, I was just existing. And I had to begin to speak life to myself, regardless of the story that I had been telling myself. It was time to change my story and to declare that the dry bones in my life would live again. And if that's you, if you're someone who is going through and you're not really living, you're just existing, I pray and I speak that the dry bones in your life begin to come together, bone to bone, sinew to sinew, and you begin to experience fullness in life, not just going through the motions. Because if it's possible for me, and baby, listen, you've just heard a snippet of what I've been through. If it's possible for me, it's possible for you too. So this piece right here is called, untitled, Beware of the Wolves. She was aware, he was a wolf. Which is why that silver ring must have burned. But this moment, she was freed. Those words gave her wings. She went flying towards abandoned dreams. The silence in the room was deafening. He couldn't believe it was she who found the courage to leave. She was done. There's no turning back now. Out the door to new possibilities. She said her final words and left. And the new chapter begins at the close of that conversation. Yeah, you know, my ex probably thought I was gonna stick around forever after, you know, all the things that he put me through. But I finally was like, enough is enough. And I walked away. And if you're in the middle of trying to find the courage to walk away from something that is no longer serving you, I pray you find the strength to get up and to go. And we will close out with this reflective piece, and then we'll close it. This piece is called The Mirror. Have you ever taken a good look at yourself? I mean, past the reflection, have you ever really looked at you? I looked at myself today, and there was more than just a face. There were the broken dreams of little girls who had been touched inappropriately by their older brother's friends. There was a self-esteem of the chocolate girls who grew up with nappy hair, feeling like they needed to wear it straight to maybe be beautiful. There were the eyes of women who feared vulnerability because to give another person access to hurt them again seemed like insanity. I wanted to look away, but I stood in the bathroom mirror and stared at the dry bones of a nation of women who refused to allow old hurts and old fears to drive the car headed to their future. I saw millions of women being healed by the love of the Father, being restored to who they were created to be, cultivators, capturing vision, and creating beautiful masterpieces on life's canvas. Have you ever stopped to take a look at yourself in the mirror? Please tell me, what do you see? All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Her Story, My Story, Our Story. For those of you who resonate, I'm so grateful for you tuning in. I pray something I said left some healing in your heart, left some healing in your soul. I would love for you to connect with me on the socials, so please tune in. Follow me on social media. I am Esty Marie on all the social platforms. Like, tune in with me. Let's continue the conversation. Let's heal together. I'm actually in the beginning stages of planning something so beautiful. It is a coaching program for women so that we can heal these wounds and heal together using poetry, using art, using creativity. So if that is something that resonates with you, please send me a DM so we can talk more about it. I'm looking for women who want to heal, who want to do the inner work, who want to share their story in a way that makes the world a better place, where we can shed our light and we can let our light shine and heal together. So if that sounds like something that you want to be a part of, please DM me, reach out to me so we can continue this conversation together. Again, my book is available on Amazon. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the live, and I will see you in the next series. Thank you, Vanja, for having me. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you to those of you on the stream. Thank you all. I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.